I need to make sure his mindset is right, so when he do start to get playing time, because it's coming, that he's in the right mental state. Claxton, I got to worry about guys like Ben Simmons. How am I going to get him back on track to produce on the basketball court and overcome everything that happened with him over the last 2 years? So I can't put all my focus into Kyrie Irving because I got a team to worry about. Not this one individual, I got a team.
Big Perk, when's the last time we've seen a team in any sport win a championship when the GM is doing a press conference and says, we are not allowing Kyrie to talk to the media. We are not allowing our franchise player to talk to the media for a couple of days so cool heads can prevail. Now, this is the general manager of a squad saying we're going to minimize, so, we have the old saying sometimes, Perk, like what coaches need to do. Sometimes as a coach, you need to protect the player from himself. Now we're seeing the Nets start to set out a series of strategies to try to protect Kyrie Irving from himself. But how many times do we see that, brother, translated into a world championship for an NBA team, or a Super Bowl for an NFL team, or a World Series for a baseball team in MLB? You don't see that. It doesn't happen that way. So, these are all things that kind of lead me up to this. And as a teammate, frankly, it's almost like, what can you even say? There's nothing you could really say. And it makes me feel bad for a guy like Kevin Durant, who you and I both know at the end of the day, all KD wants to do is hoop and win at a very high level. But it's almost like everybody on this team is guilty by association. Like I said it yesterday, I think they truly are. I'm a Nets fan, the most unlikable team maybe in the history of sports, because there's always something happening off the court that is taking away from how damn talented they are on the court. All we should be talking about is, are Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant the best duo the game of basketball has ever seen? All we should be talking about is, how does a coach implement Ben Simmons into the system the right way? When does Joe Harris, how can he elevate his level of play? When is Seth Curry going to come back? And here we are talking about everything else other than basketball, 7 games into the regular season again.
I want to talk a little bit because, Perk, you mentioned the fact that the Nets are the soap opera of the NBA. Obviously, they have that vacant head coaching position to fill. Do you take any issue at all with the Nets pursuing Udoka, who was supposed to be suspended by the Celtics for the entirety of this season?
No, I don't. And here's why, right? I understand what he did with Boston, and I agree, right? He did wrong. The Boston Celtics, he broke the guidelines in the team organization, and they suspended him. And I agree with the suspension, and I have said numerous of times that he was wrong about it, and I'm not defending it. But let's talk about him as the coach. Let's talk about what he did last year with this young Celtic team. Let's talk about how he turned this team around, made Jason Tatum and got Jaylen Brown on the same page, where they had one of the greatest regular season turnarounds in NBA history to the last part of the season. The record that they had last season, going over to the finals, something that Brad Stevens couldn't even do with this group of young fellas. So when I look at his leadership skills on the floor and what he's bringing to the table, holding guys accountable, now is he gonna come to the Brooklyn Nets and all of a sudden they're gonna become the title favorites and he's gonna get the best out of Ben Simmons and he's gonna hold Kyrie Irving accountable? I can't say that. But what I can say is that he's a serious upgrade from Steve Nash as a coach, and he's proven that. He has a personal relationship already with Kevin Durant. They're good friends. And he was a former player that's well respected as an assistant coach, as a guy that's respected in the brotherhood of the NBA. So him coming to there, not saying that short term is going to just completely change everything, but long term, I feel like building for the future. And the future could be next year or the year after next, but if you have Kevin Durant, who you have under contract, and then you have Ime Udoka, I tell you one thing, that's a nice starting point to build to try to accomplish what they ultimately trying to get to, and that's winning the championship.
So the question of whether Ime Udoka can help this team fix their ways really is not the question for me. Because basketball-wise, I agree with everything Kendrick Perkins says, right? I mean, his relationship with KD, USA Basketball, his relationship with Sean Marks dating back to the San Antonio Spurs days. I mean, everything about that makes sense. He can hold people accountable. The question I have, Perk, is should he be in position to do so in the first place? And that's what I'm really torn about, man. Because I believe everybody deserves second chances, Perk. And I know Ime Udoka, from a basketball perspective, is genius. But there's a lot of stuff to unpack here optically about what he's coming into. So, hey, let me solve one calamity with another. In the state of chaos, now I'm going to bring another piece of chaos to the table. And optically for me, and I can't say the word on TV, this is the greatest blank show in the NBA. It feels like it optically, Perk, from everything that's happened with Kyrie to what's happened with KD in the offseason with the ultimatum to Joe Tsai, with this team and the move they did with Ben Simmons sitting on the bench last year, bringing it in, and now to Ime Udoka. Now, I don't know. I would probably bet against them finding a way just to answer the bell and win a championship. I would highly bet against that because I don't know if you can just change everything overnight and all of a sudden start holding everybody accountable and then responding the right way. Maybe I'm wrong. I would like to be wrong. There's nothing better I would like to see than Kevin Durant win a championship and do it his way with his team, with Kyrie and Ben Simmons. Redemption for everybody. I would love to see that. I'm not going to bet for that, though. And my thing is, when you hear the Boston Celtics, Perk, not give up trade compensation, when they give up, they say, we don't need trade compensation in return for a head coach that just changed the culture and dynamic of a team and took them to the NBA Finals last year.
They are near the bottom of the league in terms of defense here so far, and that's just on the court stuff. They've also got the Kyrie Irving situation in the wake of the controversy over a tweet linked to a movie considered by many anti-Semitic. The Nets and Kyrie Irving announced they'll each donate $500,000 to anti-hate causes. Irving also issued this statement saying, I oppose all forms of hatred and oppression and stand strong with communities that are marginalized and impacted every day. I'm aware of the negative impact of my post towards the Jewish community, and I take responsibility. The statement continues, I am a human being learning from all walks of life, and I intend to do so with an open mind and a willingness to listen. So for my family and I, we meant no harm to any one group, race, or religion of people and wish to only be a beacon of truth and light, end quote. Been noted by many, there's not really an apology anywhere in that statement, maybe an admission of misspeaking, but he hopes, and the Nets hope, between the donation and the statement that this will put an end to it. What do you think?
I'm glad he admitted it. It takes, you never really know how you affect people. And I bet whenever he posted or tweeted or whatever it was, he didn't think this would be the outcome. And so to say, you know what, I'm not that high on my horse to say I'm going to say what I want. I have freedom of speech, and that's it. I'm glad he acknowledged it. I'm glad he's trying to take steps towards moving on, and I think that's very important for everybody involved.
Yeah, I'm with Jamal. I think the first thing is accountability. And I think one thing for Kyrie right now is, take away just this tweet. I think when you're looking at a team of the Brooklyn Nets, they have to find a way not to be a distraction. I think that's the one thing right now. It seems the play is a distraction in itself, not playing well. But then when you have off-court distractions, and sometimes I know my high school coach said, I don't care what you think you're wrong or right, you're becoming a distraction to our goal. And the goal is to winning basketball games or coming out and just being able to compete. I think right now they're not even clear-headed enough to compete, versus winning the losses. Sometimes you learn from a lot of losses and you can say, hey, we can see where we're getting better. I don't think they know where they are, from a standpoint, not basketball players, who has my back. That's the hugest thing. If I know Jamal has my back and I'm not playing well, I feel it could come, especially that talent. Right now, I don't think they know who they are, and where they want to go, and that starts with leadership. From the player standpoint, from coaching and management, those three entities are not on the same page.
And they've had so many distractions going back to last season, the James Harden situation, the trade for Simmons, the Kyrie Irving back situation last year. the news that Kevin Durant wanted to be traded out of Brooklyn over the summer, and now this, in addition to the issues on the floor. Nets are back on the court Friday in Washington. Whether they'll have a permanent head coach by then, we don't